Unearthed at last, the sinister Viking curse that haunts 12 brave archaeologists, revealed. The news hit Willow Creek like a lightning bolt. Unearthed at last, the sinister Viking curse that haunts 12 brave archaeologists, revealed. The headline filled the coffee shop chatter and slipped like whispers through the cracks of the quaint Midwestern town. But for Sarah, it ignited a primal fear. She felt a warning tingle in her spine. Just beyond her backyard, rumors swirled about ancient Viking burial mounds cradling untold treasures and unforgiving perils. Lucas, her adventurous teenage son, brought the topic alive with every excited word. "Mom, we have to dig." His eyes sparkled with childish wonder, painting images of lost artifacts and brave explorers. But Sarah's heart raced not with excitement but dread as she remembered the dark tales, the ones washed away in laughter but deeply rooted in the town's soil. They had always warned against disturbing the resting place of the dead. Spring blooms surrounded them, the scent sweet but deceivingly innocent. Day after day, the neighborhood buzzed with anticipation. Families chipped in to support Lucas's ambitious dig, encouraged by the local historian, Mr. Hargrove, whose gleam of obsession was more unnerving than enlightening. As the excavation team set their tools into the earth, Sarah's mind remained a battlefield, fought by the desires of a loving mother and the gnawing tradition of fear. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The laughter grew louder as the children formed a human chain to pass the dirt buckets. But soon, the air grew heavy, pregnant with unspoken whispers. That night, shadows danced just outside Sarah's window, gliding through her periphery with malicious grace. The porch light flickered, and an unsteady heartbeat quickened in her chest. Odd symbols marred the trees, strange etchings that resembled ancient Norse runes. Was her mind playing tricks, or was there something truly sinister at play? Days turned into nights filled with sleeplessness, unrest gnawing at her thoughts. It wasn't just the whispers, it was the unease creeping into her bones. The townsfolk once shared food and stories, but now they exchanged nervous glances, the thrill of discovery turning capricious and dark. Mr. Hargrove, once a beacon of knowledge, descended deeper into secrecy, his gaze swimming with shadows. Sarah felt safety slink away like mist in the dawn. Then it happened. Lucas vanished. One moment, he had been captivated, eyes following a flicker in the woods, and the next, he was gone. The air, once filled with laughter, now thickened with terror. It spiraled into chaos as Sarah dashed into the jagged embrace of the forest, heart pounding, an insistent whisper echoing, "This was a mistake." Every step fell into darkness, the trees looming like guardians of despair, as the stories chanted in her head, drowning out logic. Was the curse real? She could feel their eyes on her, the spirits of the buried, the lines between family loyalty and community deceit blurring into a quagmire of dread. Panic clawed its way up as she stumbled into the depths, desperation igniting her every nerve, and finally reached the clearing that met the ancient burial mounds. Shivers coursed down her spine as she sensed the imminent confrontation, a lingering flicker of light beckoning her, promising answers but cloaked in mystery. Was it Lucas calling? Or something darker, something waiting to claim another innocent soul? The boundary of reality trembled as the whispers crescendoed to a storm around her, leaving her with an irrevocable question: would she ever find her son again? The trees pressed in on her from all sides, their branches clawing like skeletal fingers. The flickering light danced between the trunks, teasing her. She took a step forward, heart pounding as if it would break free of her chest. "Lucas." Her voice shattered the silence, sinking into the void, swallowed whole. No response. The whispers grew louder, sinister echoes wrapping around her like a shroud. She pushed deeper into the clearing, where the burial mounds loomed like forgotten giants. Each step felt like an invitation or a warning. The air was thick, rippling with an unholy chill. Suddenly, the light intensified, flickering sharply before disappearing entirely. Panic twisted in her stomach. For a moment, there was stillness. A heavy breath of silence that seemed to crunch underfoot. Then, she heard it. A whisper, soft at first, but building in urgency. "Mom, help!" Her breath caught in her throat. It was Lucas. She turned toward the sound but grasped at shadows. "Lucas! Where are you?" As if answering her call, the ground trembled beneath her. The burial mounds shook, dirt sloughing off like dead skin. All at once, a hollow thrum vibrated in her bones, fear yawning wide inside her, an echo of all the ancient warnings rushed back to her. They had disturbed the dead. "No! Please!" She stumbled back, bumping against a tree, its bark rough against her skin. From the darkness, a figure emerged, molten like a candle's flame, flickering and then stabilizing into a form wrapped in shadows. An eerie silhouette unfurling in the dim light of the clearing. "Why have you come?" The voice was deep, reverberating with an ancient resonance, tinged with menace. "I'm looking for my son." A desperation clawed at her throat. "Have you seen Lucas?" The creature's eyes glowed like embers, piercing through the night. "He awaits." The voice stretched out, curling around her heart, chilling her to her core. "But there is a price. Are you willing to pay?" A knot of dread twisted tighter in her gut. "What price?" "You disturb the resting place of the vengeful ones. They will not let his soul go so easily." Each word sank deeper into her psyche, splintering her resolve. She had come to save him, to restore order, but now she was entangled in their curse, a mere player in a twisted game. "What do you want from me?" Her voice trembled, every ounce of confidence dwindling. "Sacrifice the hollowed essence, one of blood." The ancient echo wrapped around her tighter. She remembered the stories, whispered in fearful tones. Those who unearthed the past often paid dearly. "No. I want tea. You have already sealed your fate." The creature gestured to the mounds. Sudden flashes of vision surged through her mind. Lucas trapped in the mounds, his cries of terror fading, consumed by a darkness she couldn't fight. Terror and despair filled her lungs as she grabbed her chest, panic rising. She felt herself begin to buckle under the weight of an impossible choice. Save her son or become part of the curse herself? Bring him back. Please. Her knees trembled on the forest floor, the echo of Lucas's voice haunting her. Would she risk everything, become a prisoner along with him? And deservedly cursed to a fate worse than death? The light flickered once more in the depths of the woods, and the whispers slithered around her, growing stronger, promising. But was it a promise of hope or a deceitful lie wrapped in despair? She was running out of time. Would she be able to make the right decision before it was too late? Her heart raced, pounding like a war drum, echoing in the heavy silence. The creature loomed before her, its presence swirling like a whispering storm, thickening the air around her. Each word it spoke burrowed into her mind, a grotesque melody of dread. She could sense Lucas's fear tugging at her from the shadows, twisting her insides. Sacrifice, it said again, to free what is bound. Blood for blood. No. Her voice was stronger now, laced with defiance as panic surged anew. You can't take me. I won't let you. But deep down, an instinct whispered otherwise. Cursed. The stories, the warnings. The hourglass had its last grain hanging by a thread, and the ground began to shake once more beneath her. She could almost feel Lucas's presence, like a flicker of candlelight just beyond reach, shimmering in the all-encompassing darkness. Choose. The creature hissed, and the air crackled with dark energy. Your soul or your child. Clenching her fists, she took a shaky step forward. I'd give my life for him. A chuckle bubbled up from the creature's depths, icy and hollow. few understand the weight of their words. Once your blood mingles with the earth of the cursed, it will never let go. Desperation sparked anew as visions flooded her mind, each darker than the last. Lucas trapped in a boundless void, shadows wrapping tight around him, drained of hope. A single heartbeat away from being lost forever. She gritted her teeth, the burden of her choices palpable across her skin. No! She shrieked, spinning back towards the mounds, her heart hollering for Lucas. I'll find him. I won't give in. With fierce determination, she plunged into the night, closer to the burial mounds. The whispers sharpened, a cacophony of fury and anguish, but her breath quickened. She had to believe there was a path to her son. Each frantic step pulled her deeper into the shadows, crashing waves of despair trying to drown her resolve. As she neared the mounds, she saw them shift, the dark soil rumbling and heaving. A hollow noise echoed as if 1,000 trapped souls were calling out, chained and anguished. Lucas! She called again, her voice ringing through the thick fog. I'm coming. Suddenly, the air split with a harrowing scream. It wasn't Lucas, but something dark and void-like stretched its hand from the mound, longer and darker than shadows. It reached for her, and in that moment, she felt trapped. If she retreated, she'd forsake her son. If she moved forward, she might invite madness itself. The creature's laughter surrounded her, thick with taunts. Only one will leave. She was there, caught in the teeth of a monster's choice, battling against the gripping fear and the weight of impending doom. Her own scream joined forces with an echo, wild, desperate, and in it lay a flicker of hope, a spark to ignite her will. Her fingers brushed the cold earth, the pulse of lost souls thrumming against her skin. Please. I'll find you. I won't let you go. But as she knelt before the mounds, the light flickered again. Was that Lucas's voice, or just another deceitful whisper? Confusion writhed in her mind as the shadows closed in. Suddenly, a flash of light erupted from the mounds, illuminating the faces of the lost, eyes filled with anger, sorrow, and a deep hunger for vengeance. As darkness threatened to consume her, a chilling realization dawned. She was not just fighting for Lucas, she was battling for her own soul. The ground trembled once more, and in that quaking moment, she sensed the price of her resolve tighten around her. Would it take one sacrifice to save another, or would they both be swallowed whole? And as the forest shuddered, a bone-chilling laugh erupted, echoing in the void, sending shards of terror racing down her spine. What darkness awaited her if she dared to proceed? The choice hung heavy, as the winds picked up, swirling debris around her, and for a heartbeat, she stood frozen in place, waiting for the ground to swallow her whole. The soil beneath her fingers pulsed like a living thing, thrumming with an energy that was both intoxicating and terrifying. The shadows danced closer, swirling around her as if drawn to her despair. Each whisper grew louder, crashing over her like waves in a storm. Lucas! She cried again, the name a desperate lifeline in the encroaching void. But the wind carried only silence back, thick and oppressive. The once familiar sounds of the woods turned foreign, twisting into dim echoes of anguish and despair. Then, as if in answer, she felt a sinking in her chest, cold dread spreading like ice. The dark hand lurking at the edge of the mound began to pulse, growing thicker and more tangible. Something was forcing its way out, and it wasn't just a whisper anymore. It became a roar, a banshee's wail that clawed at her sanity. Choose. The creature's voice pierced the cacophony, curling around her thoughts like smoke. What will you sacrifice to save him? It was suffocating, blurring the line between desperation and madness. Each second felt heavy, a heartbeat suspended in an agonizing eternity. She could almost feel the blood cooling in her veins, could almost hear the rasp of Lucas's breath in the darkness. He was there, somewhere, and she could not abandon him. Not now, not ever. Her mind raced, grappling for an answer, any answer. This was not just some twisted game. The stakes were too real, too high. In a flash, a memory burned bright, Lucas laughing, his small fingers covered in mud, digging up treasures of nature. But now, she would dig down, deeper than before, into the very abyss of her own soul. I want to choose. She screamed, fury igniting her spirit. You think you can take me? I want to bow to you. Suddenly, the earth trembled violently beneath her again, making it hard to stay upright. She stumbled back, steadying herself against the nearest mound. The presence of countless lost souls became palpable, their pain wrapping around her like a thick, suffocating fog. It was a funeral shroud woven from fear and sorrow. No one ever leaves. The creature's laugh twisted through her, malevolent and sinister. The price of survival demands a blood price. In that moment, she was overwhelmed by visions, dark, swirling images of Lucas trapped, screaming, just out of reach, his form buckling under shadows that sought to consume him. The rage ignited a fire in her chest, but with it sprang a desperate dread. What if she couldn't find him? What if, in her fury, she only dooms them both? Against the odds, she edged closer to the mound, eyeing the blackened grasp that loomed above. The thought of digging through the cursed earth, the idea of doing something reckless, sent a shiver up her spine. But she had no choice. If there was a chance, any chance, to lift the curse, she had to take it. I'm coming for you, Lucas. She yelled, desperation hardening her resolve. I want to let you go. As she reached forward, the ground erupted underneath her. Hands, ghostly and skeletal, clawed up from below, grabbing at her legs, their whispers an urgent cacophony. Last chance, the creature hissed, its form coiling like a serpent ready to strike. Terror gripped her throat, tightening, choking. Then, she felt something break inside her, a fragment of something whole shattering into pieces. It wasn't just her choice left to be made. She was linked to this cursed ground, bound in a way she didn't yet understand. Her breath quickened as the truth twisted around her. To save Lucas, she might have to become part of this bound world herself, and as the jerking hands pulled her down, deeper into the damp, waiting earth, one question lingered: what if saving him meant losing herself forever? The cold grasp of the skeletal hands tightened, pulling her deeper into the suffocating earth. Panic surged in her chest, a relentless pounding that matched the whispers of the damned. They begged her to listen, to understand that escape was no longer an option. Every fiber of her being screamed to resist, to fight back, but the shadows tugged with an undeniable force, dragging her into their dark embrace. Lucas! She wailed, fear slicing through her heart. Her voice echoed, bouncing off unseen walls as if the very ground mocked her desperation. The din of the lost became a relentless chorus, and she could feel the weight of their sorrow settle upon her shoulders like a shroud. Suddenly, through the veil of chaos, she caught a flicker of light. A pale glow flickered at the edges of the shadowy abyss, a beacon amid despair. Heart racing, she reached for it, her fingertips brushing against the cold, hard surface of a buried object. A relic. It trembled beneath her touch, sending tangles of energy through her arm. Whatever it was, it resonated with an ancient power, a pull that fought against the sorrow that sought to smother her. Help him. The creature's voice slithered around her, dripping with contempt. Why should you be spared? You should join the rest, a sacrifice like any other. No! She screamed, forcing the words past her tight throat. In this moment, strength ignited within her. I refuse to be a part of your twisted game. Gripping the relic tighter, she instinctively began to dig around it. The phantom hands recoiled at her defiance, their grip loosening just enough. She seized the moment, pulling the object into view. It was an old, heart-shaped locket, covered in intricate, archaic symbols that throbbed with a pulse of their own. The creature screeched in fury. No! Do not awaken the ancient curse. Desperation turned into determination as she flung the dirt aside, revealing a tarnished gold chain connecting the locket. A surge of recognition washed over her. This wasn't just an artifact, it was a key. A key to what? Could it break the hold this nightmare had on her and Lucas? Gripping the locket, she felt its warmth seep into her skin. The whispers became frantic, rising to a fever pitch. She snapped it open. A soft glow illuminated her surroundings, casting away shadows and revealing a figure crouched near the edge of the darkness. Lucas. He was there, eyes wide with terror, his small form hunched and shaking. "Mom!" He stretched out his hands, reaching for her, terror morphed into an urgent resolve. With renewed strength, she yelled, "I'm coming, Lucas!" In an instant, the locket transformed into a brilliant light, ethereal and blinding. In that moment, she understood the cost of the curse. It demanded more than blood, it demanded her very essence. Yet, this was a risk she had to take. The light spilled from the locket, banishing the shadows around her, unraveling the very darkness that held them captive, yet, as she advanced towards him, the ground tremored violently once more. The shrieks morphed into guttural growls, and with them, the tendrils of shadow emerged anew, thrashing against the barrier of light. The creature's voice thundered in fury, "You cannot escape. You are bound to this place." With the locket's light flickering on the cusp of extinction, she felt the connection to the cursed earth grow heavy. What would she have to sacrifice now? Would it be her heart, her soul, or even her son? As the last rays of light began to fade, she clasped the locket tightly to her chest, whispering a promise to Lucas. It was now or never. The darkness surged towards her, ready to reclaim its victims, but before she could take the leap, a chilling thought crept into her mind. What if the love that kept them together also bound them to this fate? What if in seeking to save Lucas, she could not save herself in the process? As the last flicker of the locket's light pulsated, a cacophony of growls reverberated through the air, filling her with suffocating dread. Time stood still, a heavy blanket of silence descended just before the storm. Shadows twisted, thrashing wildly, each desperate to reclaim their prey, to weave them back into the ground they had fought so hard to escape. "Mom!" Lucas cried, his voice choked by fear. The ache in her chest felt like it was splitting her in two. She had to reach him, there was no choice. Gripping the locket, she took a shaky step toward the light, her heart hammering with panic. But the darkness surged again, roaring like an angry beast, clawing at her legs, pulling her down. It was relentless, wrapping around her ankles like serpents, seeking purchase, following her body's every movement. The silhouettes of lost souls from the abyss climbed higher, their bony fingers hair-raisingly cold against her skin. She fought against it, the locket's glow flickering faster in response to her struggle. "Let him go!" she shouted into the void. "He is mine. I will feast upon your love." The creature laughed, a sound that chilled her flesh. "Love is a tether. It binds you to your fate." The bone-rattling laughter echoed and morphed into despairing cries. Her anger had awakened the lost souls. They whirled around her, climbing up her body, pushing her back into the earth. Each soul dripped hatred, feeding off her fear. The whispers became accusations, each howl a reminder of failure. Then, a vision pierced through the chaos. Flickers of memories, moments shared with Lucas, bedtime stories, laughter at the park, bedtime hugs. Each memory radiated warmth, breaking through the icy tendrils of despair. The locket pulsed in her grip again, and she held it tightly, drawing deep from that radiant light, a power stronger than the shadows. "Your darkness cannot hold what is pure." She screamed defiantly, her voice strong against the choking fear. The locket flickered brilliantly once more, brighter than before, igniting the shadows around her. Light exploded from the relic, consuming the dark figures that tried to surround her. They shrieked in agony as the light tore through their forms. "Run, Lucas!" she yelled, but he remained frozen, paralyzed by fear. Each second felt like an eternity as the tendrils slashed at her, biting with icy precision. She thrust the locket forward, determined to create a barrier, a protection around Lucas's trembling form. The creature howled in rage, engulfed by the searing brightness. It clawed at the edges of its fading power, its grip weakening. "Save yourself, my child!" she cried, her voice cracking. Suddenly, a hand grabbed her wrist, and she looked back. Lucas stood, eyes wide as he clung to her, refusing to let her go even as the shadows attempted to swallow him whole. "No, Mom. I want to leave you." The weight of his love pulled her down too, wrapped her in its warmth but also dangled her precariously close to the edge of oblivion. The relic pulsed in rhythm to their hearts, and as she felt the warmth radiating from their joined hands, an idea sparked within her. "Together," she whispered, "we can break the curse. But you must trust me." The shadows lashed out, desperate to reclaim what once belonged to them, but she could feel the locket's power building. Lucas nodded, determination etched across his small face. "Together," he repeated. In that moment, they became a beacon, the locket lifted higher, illuminating the wreckage, dispelling the shadows. New energy surged through her veins, igniting a fierce fire within. But as they stood, light breaking through the clutches of darkness, the creature's voice rose above the chaos, solidifying her dread. "You think you can escape? You will join us one way or another." The ground beneath them pulsed ominously, and the inevitability of their circumstance threatened to pull them back into despair. Could they truly escape together? Or would the bond that held them tighten, dragging them both deeper into the curse's sinister grip? The light dimmed for just a moment, and she realized in horror not everything could be saved. Would they become the next victims of the earth, or would the curse finally be broken? A flicker of doubt crossed her mind as she plunged into the fray, preparing to face the monster once and for all, grasping the one thread of hope they had left. But as the shadows encroached, the chilling question loomed: would unity empower them to triumph, or doom them to forever wander the shadows? The moment the light flickered, a sickening stillness enveloped them, as if the world paused to witness their struggle. The shadows recoiled slightly, but the silence was short-lived. A deep growl emanated from the monster, vibrating through her bones, a vile promise of what lay ahead if they failed. "Hold on to me," she yelled as the tendrils coiled tighter. Lucas gripped her hand fiercely, a small anchor of hope amidst the swirling chaos. The locket pulsed with energy, almost like it was alive, tugging, racing, ready to launch them into battle. Their combined resolve sent a shockwave through the darkness, making it hiss and wail. But her heart dropped when the ground rumbled again, shaking beneath their feet. It felt alive, greedy, hungry for the warmth they offered. Sweat dripped from her brow as the air thickened, heavy with despair. "Lucas, we can do this," she shouted, her voice desperate yet resolute. Each second felt like they were caught in an eternity of dread. The weight of the shadows pressed down, dragging them back, but she felt the connection strengthen as they faced it together. The creature's voice returned, layered with malice, taunting them with promises of doom. "You will become one of us. I will feast upon your fears and fill the void with your misery." "No. We are not yours," she yelled, summoning every ounce of anger she had. The locket intensified, beams of light slicing through the dark. She could practically hear Lucas's heartbeat syncing with the relic's pulse, their fear transforming into fierce determination. "Together, Mom!" Lucas screamed, his voice a beacon in the chaos. With every ounce of strength, she tugged him closer, ready to confront the nightmare before them. Suddenly, a wave of shadows lunged forward, swirling and crashing like a black tide. She thrust the locket high, feeling its power surge, pushing past her fear. The shadows shrieked, fizzling in the light like dark kindling. This was it, this was their moment to fight back. But even as the locket fought valiantly against the dark, she felt something shift, an unsettling twist in the air. The creature was regrouping, feeding off their collective fear, harnessing it as a weapon. The shadows thickened, turning playful, wrapping around Lucas's legs and trying to snap his resolve. "Mom, it hurts!" Lucas cried, a tremor breaking through his brave front. Her heart twisted, the love for her son mixing with an unshakable dread. Time slowed again, every heartbeat throbbing in her ears. The shadows slithered higher, hissing venomous lies meant to fragment their fighting spirit. "You think you can escape?" the creature rasped, its voice echoing from all around. "I'll show you despair. I'll turn your love into a weapon against you. A wave of terror washed over her. What if it was right? Could love turn into a weapon? The fear had found a way in, rattling her bravado. She glanced at Lucas, whose face was pale, eyes wide with horror, and she realized what if their connection was the very thing the darkness sought to exploit. "Lucas!" she yelled, shaking off the creeping doubt, "we'll break this together. Remember your courage. Remember us." The locket flared brightly at her words, a final surge of light pushing against the encroaching darkness. But as a last desperate ploy, a mass of shadows darted forward, wrapping around her body, binding her in despair. The darkness whispered promises of annihilation, drowning out her willpower. Then just as she felt herself slipping, the furor surged again, one last burst of unity, and the locket shone even brighter, blinding the suffocating darkness. "Together, Mom!" he shouted again, and suddenly she was back, grounded by his unwavering grip. It hit her like a wave. But could this surge hold long enough to shatter the curse? And as the silhouettes writhed before them, the terrifying question loomed. Would their love be enough to break the bond, or were they merely fueling the dark beast's insatiable hunger? The shadows recoiled at the intensity of the locket's light, sparking a glimmer of hope. But hope is a fragile thing, and the darkness only waited, hungry for their next misstep. Around them, the air thickened, a suffocating blanket that clawed with icy fingers at the edges of their sanity. The grip of dread was a vice, squeezing relentlessly. "We can't let it win, Mom." Lucas's voice cut through her thoughts, pulling her back from the brink where despair loomed like an executioner's axe. She focused on his determination, the way his small, defiant body stood against the encroaching void. It fueled her, igniting flickers of courage buried deep. Right. She gasped, channeling that flicker into something more. "Think back to our happiest moments. We can fill the darkness with light." But as they summoned memories of laughter and warmth, the shadows swirled an angry tempest that could not be deterred. Tendrils lashed out, seeping into her mind, fighting to extinguish those bright recollections. "Your love is weak," the creature mocked, its voice echoing from every corner, a chorus of nightmare that rattled her bones. "I'll feast on your fear, your pain." A shudder gripped her, stirred by a truth that seeped into everything. The fear clawed closer as they fought to maintain their grip on hope. She felt the creature testing their resolve, pushing relentlessly, searching for cracks in their bond. "Lucas!" she shouted, panic creeping back into her voice. "Don't let it in." But she saw it, the flicker of doubt in his eyes, the way they darted around the darkness, seeking an escape. "Mom," his voice trembled, each word falling like a stone. "What if we can't break free? Don't say that. Focus on me." She took a step towards him, the shadows writhing as her resolve steeled, yet those endless tendrils trained around him, drawing him down. "Mommy!" His cry sliced through the haze. "I feel it. It's so cold." In that moment, everything shifted. The shadows twisted, laughing. They feasted on fear. The darkness surged forward, a tidal wave of terror destined to strip them of their courage. The ground trembled, and beneath their feet, she sensed the pulsing heart of malevolence. With every ounce of strength, she hoisted the locket above them, channeling memories of picnics in the park, camping trips under the stars, the warmth of their shared smiles. "You are stronger than this darkness," she screamed, adrenaline propelling her words like arrows into the dark. Light erupted from the locket, momentarily dispelling the shadows. The shrieks of the creature morphed into almost human howls of rage. But then, as if mocking their resurgence, a chilling laugh rolled across the landscape. "Your love is nothing but a spark in the void. I thrive on the despair you cannot deny." They staggered as the shadows lunged again, this time wrapping around Lucas more tightly, pulling him deeper into the maw of the darkness. "Mom! I can't." Her heart raced, panic threatening to crush her. She grabbed the locket, digging in deep, her palms slick with sweat, resolve hardening like steel. She could glimpse their shared joy flickering in Lucas' eyes, and she held on tighter. "You have to believe, Lucas. Fight." Then, just as the shadows began to lift threatening to eclipse hope with darkness again, there was a sudden silence, a stillness so profound it gripped her heart. And in that deep quiet, a shadow flickered. A figure began to take form, more menacing than the rest. It laughed, a sound that reverberated through her skull. "You're fighting the wrong battle." A predatory glint caught her eye as the figure lunged toward them, its intent clear. Would their efforts even matter when faced with this new threat? Gripping Lucas tightly, she felt the weight of dread pressing against her ribs as the grotesque figure smiled, and all hope began to slip through her fingers. What did it mean? What else was lurking in the darkness waiting to be unleashed? The figure edged closer, a twisted version of a man, skin taut over bones that jutted like the ribs of a shipwreck. "You thought love could save you?" The voice dripped with malice. It didn't just speak, it slithered into her mind like a serpent, coiling around her thoughts. Shadows flickered, feeding off their fear, warping the space around them. "Mom!" Lucas whimpered, his small hand stretching toward her, but the shadows pulled him lower, dragging him deeper into a vortex of darkness. Each tug on him sent darts of ice through her veins. "Lucas! Hold on!" she cried, desperate. She lunged forward, arms outstretched, feeling the chill seep into her bones. "I want to let you go." Sweat trickled down her face, mingling with fat tears falling freely now. But the grotesque figure raised a hand, a twisted smile on its face. Such determination. But every struggle only feeds the darkness, every movement pulls you both further into despair. In that moment, she knew the truth, the creature thrived on their doubt. Each shred of fear tightened its grip. Instinctively, she grasped the locket again, its glow flickering like a dying flame. She shut her eyes tight, vision blurred with tears and terror. Think. She whispered aloud. Memories cascaded: Lucas's laughter, the way he danced with puddles in spring, the sound of rain on their roof as they nestled together under a blanket. The warmth of those moments ignited a smoldering ember inside her, pushing back against the shadow's chill. "Lucas. Remember when we baked cookies? The dough was so sticky. We had flour everywhere. You were covered in it." He blinked, struggling against the darkness that clawed at him. A flicker of recognition crossed his face, something that resembled hope. "Yeah, and we ate all the chocolate chips." His voice was barely audible, lost under the pressure of despair, but it was there. "Right. We made a mess but laughed so hard. We were happy." Her heart raced, fueled by that memory. "Think of the sun. Think of the warmth." The grotesque figure leered at her, its eyes growing sharper. "Happiness is a lie. It cannot save you." "No!" she shouted, her voice firming, like cracking thunder. "It's more than a lie, it's our truth. You're nothing but smoke." The air shifted, swirling with energy, amplifying their shared joy. The locket pulsed with a brilliant light, brighter than before. "Lucas, hold on tight." A sudden violent wave of darkness crashed at them, and she stood firm. With the memory of joy swirling within her, she focused on the locket, pouring every ounce of love, every cherished moment into its brilliance. The shadows shrieked, thrashing violently, hissing in frustration. "You think you can defy me? I will claim you both." Light burst forth like the sun breaking through storm clouds, burning bright, illuminating the depths of the encroaching hordes. A blinding radiance collided with darkness, dissolving shadows into whispers carried away by the wind. But as the brightness pushed against the suffocating gloom, the twisted figure writhed, flickering as if caught between worlds, its laughter twisted into rage. "This game is far from over. You've only bought a moment, but I will return." And with a final, deafening howl, the darkness imploded, collapsing around them like a black hole, pulling at everything. Just as suddenly as it had begun, they plummeted, falling into a silence more profound than the darkness. Then she blinked. They were outside, the moonlight pouring over them like liquid silver, polishing the scars of night. The trees whispered secrets, swaying gently in the wind, a stark contrast to the terror they had just experienced. Her hand faltered, the locket warm against her palm. "Mom." Lucas's voice was shaky, confusion washing over him like a tide. "What happened? Are we safe?" She looked over her shoulder, half expecting the dark figure to re-emerge from the abyss. "I don't know. But we won." But a tremor of dread lingered, hanging in the air like smoke. The battle may have been won, but the war was far from over. Then a spark, a chill breeze ruffled the leaves, and she felt it deep in her bones, a reminder that the shadows never truly die. "What if it comes back?" Lucas whispered, eyes wide, searching her face for reassurance. She couldn't answer. Because a new shadow flickered on the horizon, looming, indifferent, like a patient predator waiting for the right moment to strike again. Could they truly escape the grip of darkness? Or was the true horror yet to be unveiled? The dawn broke over Willow Creek, a soft pink glow spilling across the horizon like a comforting blanket. Sarah held Lucas tightly, his small form fitting perfectly against her, grounding her in the wake of the nightmarish ordeal they had just survived. They had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death, but now, as the sun's warmth enveloped them, a sense of uncertainty lingered like the shadows that haunted the woods. "Are you okay?" she murmured, brushing her fingers through his messy hair, searching his face for traces of the fear they had faced together. The remnants of terror still haunted his wide eyes, but there was something else there too, a flicker of resilience. I think so," he replied, his voice small but steady. "What was that thing?" She sighed, the weight of their night pressing down on her. "It was a darkness born from fear, Lucas. A curse that wants to keep people like us trapped. But we fought back." He nodded, though uncertainty still clouded his features. "What if it comes back?" "Then we'll be ready," she promised, her resolve flowing from some deep well of determination. "Together, we can face anything." The return home felt different. The streets that once seemed so safe now felt like a fragile shell, worried and cracked. As they wandered past familiar houses, memories entwined with the looming fear of the unknown, a mishmash of laughter and warmth mixed with dark shadows. She couldn't shake the feeling that even this moment of peace was just a temporary veil. When they reached their porch, Sarah hesitated, her heart heavy with the knowledge of the curse. The locket, still warm in her pocket, had fallen silent, its power drawn tightly around them, but she couldn't ignore its presence, a reminder that they had unearthed something powerful and dangerous. "Mom," Lucas said, breaking her thoughts, "do you think the people in town will be okay?" Sarah felt her stomach churn. The excavation had drawn the attention of the townsfolk, feeding their curiosity and greed. They need to know about the curse, about the cost of disturbing the dead. As if her words summoned fate, Mr. Hargrove rounded the corner. With wild eyes and disheveled hair, he seemed frantic, as if the night had taken a toll that lingered. "Sarah! Lucas!" He rushed toward them, urgency flowing from his voice. "You have to help. Something went wrong, stop." She snapped, the edge of her voice sharp. "You stirred something ancient. We faced it, and we've paid a price." His face blanched, then hardened. "But the treasure's the townsfolk, they think they can harness it, control it." "No!" she cried. "You don't understand. It'll consume them, just like it tried to consume us. But we need to alert them." His breath came out in fits, desperation tugging at him. "This is bigger than us. Bigger than the town." "Then let's go," Sarah insisted, galvanizing her courage. "We need to warn everyone." Lucas slipped his hand into hers, squeezing as if to say he was right beside her, no matter what. The town square, whispers buzzed like angry bees as townsfolk congregated, unearthed artifacts glimmering inconclusively in the morning light. Excitement masked their apprehension, and with each face she recognized, dread coiled tightly in her gut. "Everyone!" Sarah called out, her voice cutting through the murmurs, steady and strong. "We need to talk." Their chatter hushed, eyes darting between her and the historian. "We're in danger," she continued, urgency propelling her forward. "You've awakened a curse. It won't let go until it's fed." Mr. Hargrove stepped up, eyes pleading. "What do you mean, Sarah? It can't be true." "It is," Lucas shouted, drawing everyone's attention. "We saw it. The darkness, it pulls you in." There was a moment of silence, a flicker of doubt creeping through the crowd's bravado before panic erupted. Questions flew like fists. What about the treasure? What about our plans? They felt the air thicken, anticipation turned to fear as Sarah realized the curse had already embedded itself deep in their hearts, feeding on their greed. "Enough with the delusions," she roared, the love for her town boiling over. "We can break this together, but it requires sacrifice. Our passion must turn to protection not for treasures, but for the lives we cherish." The weight of her words hung in the air, holding them captive. Slowly, the furious whispers began to fade as eyes fixated on her, and she felt a shift toward unity. As the townsfolk gathered around, uncertainty replaced dread, and they turned their attention to the forest beyond, the shrouded mounds that loomed sinister yet inviting. This was their chance to come together to protect one another from what lay in shadow, to send a collective plea to the restless spirits. Sarah looked down at Lucas, who met her gaze with a spark of hope. "Together," she whispered, and he nodded, a newfound certainty igniting between them. Hand in hand with her son, she stood before the townspeople, the locket warming against her skin like an anchor in the storm. They were no longer individuals, they were a community, bonded by a shared darkness but unchoosing of a brighter path. As they prepared to confront the shadows, she took a breath, feeling the pulse of unity vibrate through her. Whatever was waiting in the depths, they would face it together, determined to reclaim the light, a light that would guide them home. "Though we've danced with darkness," she spoke, her voice strong, "we'll weave our light together and rise above the shadows." And with that, the sun finally broke free of its horizon prison, bathing Willow Creek in brilliant golden rays, a promise of warmth, courage, and hope as they stepped forward, embracing both their heritage and the new dawn that awaited. Now, they just had to believe that together, they'd turn the tide of the curse. The real battle had just begun. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this epic conclusion. You need to support the channel now.